Was Gandhi Jack the Ripper? The internet's most bizarre conspiracy theory. Could the world's most famous peace icon actually be one of history's most brutal serial killers? It sounds absurd, even offensive. But that's exactly what some corners of the internet are claiming. According to a bizarre conspiracy theory, Mahatma Gandhi and Jack the Ripper might have been the same person. Two names from vastly different worlds. One revered for nonviolence, the other infamous for butchering women in the shadows of Victorian London. But how did this outrageous idea even begin? And is there any strange coincidence that fuels the belief? Today, we dive deep into one of the internet's most shocking and disturbing theories. Let's start with who these two figures actually were. Mahatma Gandhi, born in 1869 in British-ruled India, is known across the world for leading a non-violent movement against colonial rule. His life was dedicated to truth, peace, and civil disobedience. By the time he was assassinated in 1948, Gandhi had become a symbol of global resistance without violence. Now, contrast that with Jack the Ripper, the name given to an unidentified killer who stalked the streets of London in 1888. His victims were women, most of them sex workers, and his killings were grotesque. The Ripper mutilated his victims with surgical precision, leaving behind scenes so brutal that even seasoned police officers were horrified. He was never caught, and over a century later, his identity remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. On the surface, the two couldn't be more different. One spread peace, the other fear. One wore a simple robe, the other vanished into the fog of Victorian London. So how did someone connect these two names? The theory seems to have originated from fringe forums on the internet, mostly as a dark joke. But like many online conspiracies, some began to take it seriously, or at least pretend to. Here's the strange overlap that believers point to. In 1888, the year of the Ripper murders, Mahatma Gandhi was in London. He was 19 years old and studying law. That's the same city and year where 5 women were murdered with horrifying precision. Coincidence or cover-up? Those who entertain the theory point to Gandhi's later celibacy and strict control over sexual urges. They speculate that he had some deep psychological trauma or guilt from those early years. Some even claim that his later obsession with self-discipline and pain was a twisted attempt at redemption. Others look at his so-called experiments with celibacy, where he controversially slept next to young women to test his self-control, and try to reframe it as a sign of a disturbed psyche. Then there's the timeline. The Ripper murders stopped suddenly in November 1888, right around the time Gandhi left London. Again, coincidence? Or did the killer simply disappear into a different life? Of course, there's zero actual evidence linking Gandhi to the crimes. No documents, no forensic data, nothing credible. But conspiracy theorists rarely need evidence. They feed on gaps in history, coincidences, and the shock factor. So let's break this down with logic. First, Gandhi was just 19 years old in 1888, and by all accounts, a shy, awkward student who struggled to speak confidently. He was also a vegetarian, deeply spiritual, and still figuring out his identity in a foreign land. There's no record of him showing violent tendencies, not then and not later in life. Second, the Ripper killings displayed knowledge of anatomy and surgical skill. Many investigators believe the killer may have been a doctor or butcher. Gandhi had no such skills or training. Third, the idea of someone committing brutal murders and then transforming into a global symbol of nonviolence isn't just unlikely. It's psychologically implausible. Gandhi was arrested, beaten, and even nearly killed, yet never responded with violence. He didn't hide from pain, he embraced it. Also, historians have extensively documented Gandhi's movements during his time in London. There's nothing suspicious, nothing unaccounted for. The only connection to the Ripper case is the year and location, and that's a weak link at best. So why do people believe it? Because it's entertaining. Because it's shocking. And because in the age of the internet, even the most absurd ideas can catch fire and spread like truth. At the end of the day, this theory isn't about Gandhi or Jack the Ripper, it's about us. It shows how easily people will believe something if it's outrageous enough. It proves that with a few coincidental facts, anyone, even someone like Gandhi, can become the villain of a viral story. But it also raises a deeper question. In a world where truth is constantly twisted and repackaged for clicks, how do we separate fact from fiction? This theory might be laughable, even offensive. But it's a reminder of how quickly the internet can turn anyone into a monster or a messiah. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? Is this just another wild conspiracy? Or do you believe history might be hiding something far darker? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want more videos that dive into the darkest corners of the internet. Until next time, stay curious and stay cautious.